New Landing's Job Chat is brought to you in part by the Prosperity Advisory Group, the next step in your financial future, and by the EBS Group with an unparalleled background in Oracle solutions and services.
You have gone through the process of building a portfolio. Now, how do you best use it? You'll find out on today's Job Chat. Your hosts are Hector Silva and
Sarah Kane.
Our guest is Karen Silins. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you.
Karen Silins is president and owner of A+ Career and Resume. She is an award-winning resume writer whose work has been featured in multiple publications. She is also a member of the National Association of Resume Writers. Welcome, Karen.
So, Karen, you've gone through the trouble of building this portfolio. How do you go about utilizing it?
Well, there's several things you want to do, and the first thing I tell people, please keep control of your portfolio. What happens is sometimes the interviewer really likes something that's in your portfolio, and your first inclination a lot of times is to hand it to them. Well, the minute you hand it to them, this is what they're doing. And they aren't paying a bit of attention to you anymore. So we want to keep that portfolio in front of us and either just give them that one piece out of the portfolio to look at real quick, or ask them if they'd like to see it afterwards. Because you are taking notes, you have their business cards in there, you have your pens and pencils, and you have things you want to refer to in that portfolio. The minute you lose control of that, you no longer have the ability to do any of that, and they are no longer paying attention to you. So that's a big distraction. I tell people the portfolio is not the main attraction of this little event. You are the main attraction, so keep it that way.
The portfolio is there so when you are answering those questions, you can have some backup to prove your answer.
Yes, it's backup, it's behavioral interview answers, it's a lot of different things, but it's not the main attraction.
Now, once you go through the interview or you've answered the questions, could there be something in that portfolio that you feel you still want them to know about?
Yes, and so you want to be careful that you don't just go, well, you should see this. A lot of people I know who are, say, in architecture or graphic design or engineers or robotics or some similar type of industry, they have schematics and drawings of things they've done that they can legally show somebody else, and they really want to show it. Well, that's fine, but you're invading somebody's space if you just hold the portfolio out and have an expectation that they're automatically going to take it from you. So ask them, would you like to see some samples of my work? Or would you like to see this sample of XYZ? That way they don't find it in any way intrusive on them. They have the choice. And if they don't want to see it, don't take it personally. It has nothing to do with you. It's just purely they want to maybe maintain not having stuff in front of them. For all you know, they could be a germaphobe. Just be sure that you don't look all disappointed or insulted somehow. And for people who really, really want people to see stuff in their portfolio, you can mention at the outset of the interview, I have this portfolio. It has a lot of examples of my work in it. If you would like to see it after the interview, please let me know. And you can literally start out the interview that way.
So you don't want to overwhelm them with too much because then none of it means anything.
Exactly. They will not, they can't see the forest through the trees then. If they have too much information or they feel over-informationed, then that becomes a big problem.
Now, Karen, when you don't have examples of your work, because you may not be a graphic designer or architect, and you have tabs for your different sections of your accomplishments in work life.
Yes.
You don't, I'm sure, go through and say, do you want to see everything in my portfolio? You only mention things as it relates to a question, perhaps, that they've asked you?
Yes, as it applies. Just because you have it in your portfolio doesn't mean you have to refer to it. If it's not brought up in the interview and there's nothing that's really that important to mention regarding that particular certification or development class that you took or whatever it is that you think that you want them to see, if it doesn't apply, it doesn't apply. Don't feel the need to refer to it. Whatever comes up in the interview is what's important to the interviewer. That's what you would want to showcase.
Going back to something we had discussed in another job chat relating to control. And I thought I heard you say then that you should keep You should not be giving all of this away electronically.
That's a personal feeling of mine. There's a lot of identity theft out there. The minute you put out a lot of information about you that is extra, that they wouldn't normally have access to, you create some problems. First of all, you might put proprietary information online from your last company and not realize it. You could put information out there that's, something could have your social security number on it and you didn't even realize it. So we just want to be real careful with the kind of information we put out there. Anytime something's accessible on the internet or you hand somebody a disk with all your information on it, you no longer have control of it. It's like having a LinkedIn profile. You control that to a certain extent because you put the information on there, you choose what goes on there, and people can say, well, that's similar with your portfolio. But the portfolio is more extensive. It has a lot of additional information that you would never typically include in a LinkedIn profile or on your Facebook page.
No, that's not to say that if the person would like a copy, you could say, I'll send you an email with a copy of that particular thing.
Exactly. Or they could make a copy of it right there, which leads into the leave behind packets. I believe every interviewer or interviewee should find out how many people are interviewing them at the company. And sometimes they're like, well, we're not sure. Get at least a guesstimate and create a packet that has a copy of your resume, your cover letter, and also has a copy of your references and your reference list or your reference letters, any recommendation letters you have. And this can all be copies, or you can put them on the nice stationery. And put them in, and I tell people, please don't go spend a bunch of money. Put them in those white 9x12 packets that have the little metal tab on them that you can find for just a few bucks at Office Max or Office Depot. And essentially what you're going to do is you're going to go into that interview. It's going to have your name and the name of the position on it. And for every interviewer, you're just going to hand them a packet. And it's a packet. They'll take it. They may go, oh, you didn't have to do that, but they'll still take it because it's a packet. The minute you try to hand them these things separately, they'll go, oh, we don't need all that. So let's say they really like something in your portfolio and they want to make a copy of it. Well, now guess where they can put it? They can put it in their packet. So it serves a couple of purposes. Number one, it's unique. People don't bring them packets. We don't want to bring them a manila folder or something that stuff falls out of. This ensures the stuff stays in one place. Plus, it's just this much bigger than everything else that's been given to them. So it is a little bit of a marketing ploy. What you've given them is a little bigger, it's got your name on it and all of that, and they just refer to the packet when they need something.
And it gives you control because you're giving them what you feel they need.
Yes. And if they need something else, that's when they can make a copy of it.
New Landing's Job Chat will be back right after a word from our sponsors.
Hello, my name is William Easley, Managing Director of Wealth Management with Prosperity Advisory Group. While under unemployment stress, there may be a temptation to become more conservative with your investment allocation. Recognizing how short-term problems can adversely influence your thinking about long-term goals can help you avoid costly mistakes. It's reasonable to expect that you may need cash and more liquid assets at your disposal as you assess your financial situation over a job loss. However, you must avoid selling long-term investments as a panic response to uncertainty. You may trigger an unwanted tax or generate an ill-timed loss. Conversely, being unemployed isn't the time to take a flyer on a hot stock tip, ratcheting up your risk level in hopes of a quick profit to make up for lost income. You may do nothing more than compound your cash flow problem. A reasoned and balanced approach is recommended. Start by seeking out a qualified financial planner, such as a CFP professional, who can help you assess your unemployment situation, suggest strategies for conserving wealth, and perhaps help you with ideas on how to best protect assets. It's important to sort out alternatives while structuring a plan around your short-term objectives and your long-term goals. Again, I'm William Easley with Prosperity Advisory Group, the next step in your financial future.
Speaking of those leave behinds that they may ask for a copy of something, is there anything that you don't feel you should give them a copy of and leave behind? And if so, how would you decline that request?
I think whatever's in your career portfolio, you should be willing to hold up in front of anybody at the religious institution you attend and your grandmother. So if there's something in there that you really don't want everybody to see, it probably shouldn't be in your portfolio. Therefore, you don't have to make copies of it. The typical is the proprietary. So that should be blacked out anyway. Or if there's too much of the document that's going to be compromised because of what you have to black out in there, then don't use it.
When you have these leave behind packages, which I love that idea, by the way, when you give that over to them, can you still be building that as you're doing the interview and adding something that might come up in the interview and just kind of just take it out of your portfolio and slip it in there?
Well, it's more, since they'll already have the packets, when you walk in, you just give it to them. You can ask them, you seem to have a lot of interest in this. Would you like to make a copy of this for your packet, or would you like me to email this to you or something? And they'll let you know.
Okay, I missed that part. And you did the package when you first start, not as you're leaving saying, here's your packet with the things we discussed.
The packet starts out, you just walk in there, and just like when you walk into an interview, a lot of people carry nice copies of their resume or their resume and cover letter with them to hand the interviewers. Same with the packet, you just hand it to them. They just take it from you right then and there.
Now, I've heard you mention peekaboo with your portfolio. How does a child's game have anything to do with your portfolio?
When you look at your portfolio, sometimes you really like what's in there. So now you're looking at your portfolio during the interview and you're not taking notes. You need to take notes. There's a couple of people and books out there that say, oh, don't take notes during your interview. But that is just, in my opinion, insane advice because you can't possibly remember everything. You need really good information in order to provide a good thank you letter after the interview. So you need to take good notes. Plus, it allows you to write down questions you have during the interview, information if they do provide things on salary and benefits and things like that, because some interviewers will do that in the first interview. Now you have all that information. However, if you're stuck on page 4 of your portfolio the whole time because, well, that's just a really cool picture of me there, now you're not taking any notes. So you peek at something in your portfolio and refer to it, and you go back to your notes. And then you refer to something in your portfolio, and you go back to your notes. So it is like playing that game of peekaboo. And they see a little bit, and then you go back to your notes. And they see a little bit more, and you go back to your notes. So it makes it obvious to them you have this, but it's not something that's just sitting open in front of them the whole time. You're going to refer to something and you're going to go back to your notes.
The notes that you take and the things that you do find that they ask for in the interview, isn't that helping you then prepare for your portfolio for the next interview?
Exactly, because they may key in on something that you didn't think was important to put in your portfolio, and you realize 3 of the people that you've interviewed with that day have asked about that particular item. Now you're going to include it going forward.
So if you didn't have it in your portfolio and they asked about it, could that be something that you offer to send them a copy of?
Absolutely, as long as it's something that you wouldn't be questionable in sending them, yeah, you absolutely could send them that.
Can you use a portfolio outside of business for anything?
Well, from the networking aspect, yes, because sometimes you're doing things for charities or you're trying to get on a board or do something like that, and you're thinking, I want to show them the different things that I've done, and handing them a resume, they just kind of look at it and put it down and go, that's lovely. You take a portfolio with you and now you show them several different things you've done and they go, oh, well, they'd be great for this board, or they should be our secretary or whatever. They've got more proof of who you are and what you can provide them.
Okay, Karen, I've been dying to ask this since the first job chat when you mentioned taking a portfolio with you to networking meetings instead of a business card. How do you bring out that portfolio and show someone without seeming really awkward?
Well, it wouldn't necessarily be instead of a business card, but an adjunct to the business card. There's going to be plenty of networking situations where the portfolio doesn't come out. However, if you really develop that relationship when you're talking to somebody, which is what you need to do when you network, it's much more than about what your sports team is doing and the weather that's going on outside. you're going to literally ask them, would you like to see some examples? Or you become the expert. A lot of people in networking situations, they're dying for any bit of information they can get about being a better business owner, being a better job seeker, whatever. And you're like, well, I prepared a career portfolio and this is really helping me with all of my interviewing. Let me show you what I prepared. You can do this too. Now you're an expert. You're offering them something, and that's what I teach my clients. Networking is not about you. Networking is about them. And if you offer them a tip, a hint, some sort of lead, you become valuable. And now they want to return the favor.
So by giving them that information and that tip, they learn more about you just by looking, and
that's right.
That can in turn help make another connection for you.
Make another connection, and they may have 3 or 4 people they now think you should talk to. And a lot of times these are people that should be in your networking group.
That portfolio that you take to a networking situation, that could be a mini portfolio, something that you feel the people at that networking would need to see.
Absolutely.
And what would you think of even reducing it in size so it's not something bulky that you're taking with you?
Well, when it's just one of those little soft-sided things that you've got the little handles for, that's not really terribly bulky. So you're oftentimes getting papers and presentation stuff and all of that at a networking event anyway. You can just go ahead and put that all in the portfolio in one of the cubbies and you're done. If not, you're holding on to stuff, walking around, trying to eat your food and all this. I recommend, certainly if you've got a ton of stuff in that portfolio, you can definitely tailor it down. But I don't think that there's a problem really. I mean, a lot of my clients, they carry the full-on portfolio in with no problem. Don't find it awkward at all. And like most of the ladies that I have that are clients, they'll say, well, I just use it instead of a purse. Put my stuff in there and off I go.
We've been talking about job seeking, but one of the things that we had discussed previously was one of the benefits is that you could use it for your career management. Mm-hmm. How do you utilize it in career management?
Well, sometimes you see that there's things that everybody else seems to have at your workplace, and you know you need to look at getting that certification or learning that new task or whatever. And the time that you take to do that, now you're going to put a copy of that in your career portfolio. You're going to do a challenge, action, and result example about that project. So, the performance review that's coming up, guess what? I have information for that would be useful for them to know, because your boss may not have cited that in your performance review. It can be for ongoing performance management, moving up the chain, promotions. So it's something you continue to use throughout your career. So it's not this one-time thing you created, and then now that you have a job, you don't need it anymore. You want to continue to use it as you go through your career.
So as you go through your daily work life, you should be thinking, this project that I'm working on, does that belong in my portfolio? Every
Exactly.
award, every certification. Always be thinking about adding to your portfolio.
Yeah, and the thing that you can do is, let's say you're working for Sprint, for instance. Then you maybe just create a folder that's all about different things that have happened while you've been at Sprint, and you put that in your next to your I Love Me file. In your file cabinet, and keep that so when you need that information for the performance review or whatever, you can go through it, remind yourself of projects, remind yourself of different things that you've done, and have those copies of those certificates and everything that you can make, and then stick them in your portfolio.
And likewise, any certificates or anything that you get outside of the company are still things you want in that portfolio.
Yeah, you want to save them. You never know what's going to become important or what somebody's going to want out of a candidate in a potential job. While we don't need to save everything from 20 years ago, we certainly want to keep that more recent information, because we don't know whether that's going to be applicable to the role we're pursuing or not.
Now, Karen, I have a question. Say you have something that you would love to put in your portfolio, maybe a recommendation letter, but the letter perhaps has grammar mistakes or is poorly written. Would you still include that? Would you somehow transfer that onto your own kind of template? How would you use something like that?
If the person has put their name to it, if they've signed it or it's on LinkedIn or whatever, first of all, it's on LinkedIn, have them correct it. Second of all, if it's something they've put their hand to, you can reuse that and say, tell them why you did not include the original. The original had a couple of spelling errors in it, but you can contact this person and confirm they did write this. I do have the original. So yes, you could still use it.
Well, Karen, I think that you've shown us that there are various uses for the portfolio. It's not just one thing and it's not one time. If somebody wanted more information on how to use it, where could they reach you?
They can contact me either at Karen@careerandresume.com, and Karen is Karen, and Career and Resume is all spelled out. Or they can contact me via phone at 816-942-3019. If you contact me via email, either put job chat or career portfolio information or something in the subject line so I know that it's a person asking a question. If not, it may go to spam and I may not know that you're actually asking me a question. The other thing is, if I don't answer your question, chances are somehow I thought that the email was spam. Just give me a call.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
You can hear more advice and information from Karen and other guests by listening to past chats on our website at www.newlandingsjobchat.org or just search for Job Chat on YouTube.
And until next time, may your days be full of health, happiness, and success.